Hey everyone, the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notifications down below if you haven't already. Good morning, folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. I am Kevin, your host. Behind me, as usual, beautiful wagon wheel, and hopefully a little wisdom up here. I'm going to talk about this morning something that's been affecting me, especially the last few days, and it seems to be a pretty common theme amongst anybody on this journey at times, and it's the aspect of just kind of throwing in the towel and just saying the hell with this, because of how incredibly emotionally daunting this can be. I don't see a lot of whether it's podcasts, whether it's videos, whether it's even in writings, people talk about how hard the journey is and that you're going to go through some pain and things like that, but it's never really talked about or described what sort of things you're going to go through. And I'm going to address something that I think really needs to be talked about a lot more, so people know what to expect. And if there's one thing that I've really discovered, especially, and this is just a personal thing with me, is the sense of validation that you're going to be, quote unquote, okay in the moment is something I've really looked for. And I didn't really know it at the time, but that was really the whole reason why I created the channel in which I did. At first you feel incredibly lonely, and even as you go through it, you still feel loneliness to a degree, but it seems to dissipate, kind of go back and forth a little bit. But I kept telling myself, like, I can't be the only one going through this. That's impossible. And as I've gotten to meet and speak with and comment on other comments on the channel, it's just really driven home that, you know what, man, like you are not alone on this, even though it feels like it at times. But a lot of the comments, especially on, I think it was yesterday's video when I talked about the void, people really echoing that back to me about how right now they are feeling this immense void inside of them and really having a hard time articulating and explaining it. So I'm going to give you something that happened with me yesterday as an example of that. So after I did that video, and I want to say it was around 9 o'clock, I just got this overwhelming anxiety inside of me. Where this came from, I have no freaking clue, but it hit hard. Wow, did it hit hard. I was literally sitting in front of my computer, sort of kind of brushing up on some comments, and it just hit me. I need to go to the bookstore. Now, it didn't say go to a bookstore. I need to go to a bookstore that was down the street here within walking distance of me. It's actually a St. Vincent store, like a secondhand store, secondhand books and this and that. And as I was sitting there, it just kept saying, there is a book waiting for me. It's like, I was just like, what the hell? Like this voice inside of me telling me. Now at that moment in time, because I was feeling all spun up, and I'm pretty sure at that point I was like, fuck this journey. I'm done. I am checked out. I am sick of the pain I'm feeling. Those moments where I don't want to sit there and say I'm feeling sorry for myself, but in a way, just feeling overwhelmed by it emotionally. As I had said, I was up north in northern Wisconsin that last weekend and just felt blissful and great. And that pendulum came swinging back hard just to let me know, well, guess what? You aren't doing so great. And yesterday morning was a prime example of that. The day before was a prime example of that, but it just hit me. And again, this voice that I've been listening to more and more, and more importantly, trusting inside of me, get down to St. Vincent, there's a book waiting for you. Well, I get there. I don't know the sections. I haven't been in St. Vincent in years. And there's probably, I don't know, call it 10 to 12 bookshelves just packed with used books. So I walked over into the religion and I think philosophy section it was, and just started looking. But again, there's hundreds of books, if not thousands of books sitting there. It's like, there's a book here waiting for me, really? So up to the point, again, of frustration where I just about gave up my search, here's what I come across. The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. Sorry, my voice is a little scratchy this morning. The weather's changing here, and that typically happens with me. So I saw this book, The Surrender Experiment. The Surrender Experiment, and who's always talking about the act of surrender during this? It's myself. I started reading it when I got home, and as you've begun to learn about me, once I kind of get into the books, man, it's go time. So I get into this book. He talks about going into meditation and really disciplining himself. He studied the art of Zen before that, Zen Buddhism, and began to really sit with things. And his life began to shift in a profound way. Why am I talking about this and how is it relevant? Well, as I said, up north last weekend, feeling blissful. This week, that pendulum swang back the other direction. Early on in the book, he talks about how after going through this blissful state, that the pendulum swang back hard the other direction. His wife left him. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? She had said something to the effect of, he isn't there for her in the ways that he should be, and it really kind of echoed with the things that my ex said to me prior to breaking up. And I had just made a comment to somebody who kind of called me out on one of my videos and had said, you had asked me, well, what are your long-term goals? And maybe she didn't want to be around somebody who was numbing their brain with smoking pot. And I replied back as honestly as I could about it, is that in that moment, I really lacked long-term goals. And as I told a lot of you, I was at a point in my life where I didn't know what direction I wanted to go, which I'm assuming to anybody who's an energetic twin is a super low vibration and insanely unattractive to her. I'll humbly admit that to all of you out there. I was probably a very unattractive man to her at that point, regardless of what she saw, maybe physically, or what I provided for her on an intimate level. I lacked that. I probably lacked in a major way her confidence about who I could be in the future, and if I'm somebody that could, in a time of need, support both of us. It's a humble thing to admit, but as you transcend your ego on this, these are the things I think you have to really be honest with yourself and flip that mirror around and look at it. So I'm getting into this book, and as I said, with this, in a sense of validation, here is a person writing his book talking about entering into meditative states to try and learn about the inner self. And just like with him, he had to quiet and shut that ego up that was standing in his way of greatness. However, like when we get into this journey, so many things break off. So many things kind of fall off. We've talked about friendships. We've talked about relationships changing. That includes even with our partners or people that we might involve ourselves with later on. But the thing I just want to talk about here is, and much like he starts talking about in that book, is being okay with trusting that inner voice. But more importantly, being okay, and this is the hard part, when you do hit this journey, there's going to be those moments where you feel really good, but be prepared for those moments when you don't. I was under the illusion, and it was a profound illusion, and as with all things, the universe shows you that you are delusional in some sense at that point. I was expecting from when I was up north that blissful state, like, oh my God, I've reached it. I've reached this place of Zen. I can ease up off the throttle. No, you can't. You're going to have those moments where you feel great, and that pendulum's going to swing back the other direction, and you might get to a point like I was yesterday where it's like, screw this. I'm done. I'm tapping out. I can't take this anymore. And I'm assuming many of us have reached that point. I can't imagine somebody who's gone down this road and not had that pendulum swing back and forth and hitting both sides as hard as it possibly could. But let's talk about something positive about it swinging backwards. What he was alluding to was that as you do work on this, and as you kind of perfect these arts of these new disciplines in your life, the pendulum is going to swing in the directions of greatness at times and blissfulness, but when it comes back each time, it's supposed to be less and less and less. So in other words, what I'm getting at is the pain when it comes back is going to subside just a tiny fraction more. So it's not going to hit as hard each time. But as you go down, and now that I know this, and just again having somebody else validate this and write it in a book and put it into words was something that I needed to hear, and my inner voice directed me down to a place I haven't been to in years, telling me there's a fucking book waiting for me. Much like, synchronicities and angel numbers and things popping out like that. I was just sitting in there in utter amazement, and it really helped. It really helped draw down that energy to then just, I wasn't really in a great state of mind yesterday, but just to be like, all right, I got to give this a chance again. Am I really going to give up? I've come this far. Am I really going to stop right now? And no, but so I sat down, read the book, or not read the entire book, but read a bunch of it last night, and struggled like hell to get to sleep. It was a tough night of sleeping, that's for sure. I don't think I got to sleep until probably midnight and up around 5 o'clock. So I'm tired. You can probably hear it in my voice, and more importantly, see the luggage in my eyes right now. But I just want to drive this home to you guys. I said it in another video, but don't give up. I was in, and other people have talked about this, where this was actually, well, these are my thoughts yesterday. Why the hell would divine beings want to put me through this? Why would divine beings want to put us through all of this? We get little answers to those questions. Why would they want to do this? And they write, oh, it's to become the greatest version of yourself, and it's to get in this state of soul, and this and that. But does anybody really talk about the absolute shit show that this is? That they talk about, and most of them have said, oh, early on you're going to be on the floor crying. It's like, I don't know. Like I think as these pendulums swing from blissfulness back and forth like that, you're going to be on the floor, or in a state of panic, or just feeling completely disheveled, out of sorts a lot of the time during this. And the disciplines that we have to enact as we transmute these emotions and let them go, and release them, and more importantly, trust that inner guidance system that we're cultivating, that ego is not going to stop going or go down without the fight of your life. And much like he hits home in this book, that ego, man, it really is a bitch. I would compare it to the narcissistic relationship I was in. Like it's there to mess with you. It's there to hang on to the old school way of you thinking, living, surviving, the way you operated. And the thing is, I've began to shift and see that there is a better side, and this inner voice is a much more honest and better way of living. But that ego still convinces me that the old way is comfortable. It just does. Like it'll sit there and fight tooth and nail and scratch and put me in a rear naked chokehold, and try and put me back into the old ways of thinking, and thinking that I can make it through this with those old ways of thinking. When the reality is, this new inner guidance system, I think that's where this is going. The ability to be able to trust that and lean on that. And I'm kind of at a loss what to say with it, because I'm at this realization point that this is pretty real. And it took, like I said, 5 months. I've had new revelations and things like that, and I've asked the inner voice, what to do in specific moments, but have I really ever trusted it? And the thing is that during that mode of, and it was total panic yesterday. Like I was actually on the phone with one of my followers, or one of my subscribers on here, and she was trying to help me get through the situation, and I completely cut her off. I'm like, I gotta go in this bookstore. I gotta go inside. I'm at the store. Shut it down. They just kept saying that this book is in there. I need to be here. And while she was trying to help me, she was super kind about it, because she's further on down the road as I am on this one, a distance. And so I went in there and found this book and came back and just started diving into it. So our inner guru is there. And for some reason this one showed up at a time of total panic. So it's a really good validation and thing to have. It's like my own little personal YouTube channel was there to lift me up. And so I just wanted to get this out there, you guys. Don't try not to give up. I know that this is frustrating. Holy shit, do I ever know that this is frustrating. But it's sad to say that this is the whole point. And my son and I were coming back from football practice yesterday, and I just had a long conversation with him because he's like, Dad, what's going on? And I'm like, I think I'm going freaking nuts. Because yesterday I saw angel numbers everywhere. And on the drive home, I'm like, buddy, look at 999. There's 7777, 333. And he looks at me, and we both started laughing hysterically. And I'm like, I think I'm going freaking nuts. And he knows the Transformer movies, so I had said to him, I said, it's like when Sam Witwicky, I think it was on the second one, was sitting in the lecture hall at college, and he's just like going crazy and just seeing the Transformer signs popping up everywhere. That's what it was like with the angel numbers on our drive home yesterday. And I had showed him, I said, this is what it has been like on this journey for me. And he, I don't want to be a parent that's secretive to him, because he's not stupid, insanely intuitive, and he knows when Dad's spun up, and he can just sense it. So much like these videos, I feel I have to be open and honest with everybody out there, because why would I sit there and sell some sort of false narrative to you guys that isn't true? Like, I'm going through this hell just like everybody else, but there's heaven along the way too. And I want all of you to know that as many times as you don't think it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. I've been through some immense suffering in my own life. My father's suicide. For those of you that have been through a narcissistic relationship, the suffering that is with that after a breakup, the detox that you go through with that. So what I'm getting at is, on the other side of suffering, I know that there is greatness, and I know that all the inner healing that comes along with that is monumental. And once you begin to break free and break that old mold of your old self, the greatness is there, but holy crap, is it a struggle at times. So I just want to be that shoulder for you guys to lean on. I've got my inner guru. He's pretty cool. In fact, I call him Inner Guru. Again, sometimes I feel like I'm going nuts, but the thing is, and just like he alluded to in the book, it's so necessary. So I'm working on it, enjoying the coffee. Tried to say fuck it yesterday and quit this whole damn thing, but what else am I going to do? Quit? Stay stuck in suffering for the remainder of my years and give up? I'm a warrior, always have been. I'm a fighter. But sometimes fighters need to take a rest and take a break and detach, and that's all part of this too. So just wanted to get that message out. I'm thinking in my head, I hope I covered everything I wanted to say. I didn't make any notes on this one. I just wanted to just kind of get it out as far as what was going on yesterday. But enjoy the journey, you guys. Please leave comments down below, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And here we are.